Have you ever wanted to learn how to read music? Or whenever you see written music like this, it just feels like it's something that is going to be difficult to understand. Well, I used to think that way till I got to learn how to read music. And I've been teaching music for over 17 years now. So let me teach you in simple steps to understand this so that at the end of the day, you'll be able to learn how to read music. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing you want to understand is anytime you see something like this is called a manuscript. Just like we have an empty notebook like this. So if you don't write anything on that notebook, it will make no meaning to anybody. So it's only when you write something on that book, then the person that is reading would understand what information you're passing across. So the same way, if nothing is written on this empty music book, which is called the manuscript, then there's nothing to read. So here we have 5 lines. So if you look closely at the manuscript, it has 5 lines and 4 spaces in between these 5 lines. And this is called a staff or a stave. So staff, that's the American name, and stave, that is the British name. And take note that this staff is being read from the bottom to the top. So let's look at that in details. So the first line is going to be this, which is line 1. The second line is going to be this, which is line 2. And the third line is going to be this, which is line 3. And the fourth line is going to be this, line 4. And while the fifth line is going to be this, which is line 5. So we have the 5 lines. Okay. So if you look at it, we have intervening spaces. So all these spaces, and if you take note, we had to read from the bottom to the top. So take note of that, because that's how you're going to be reading, because the sound goes from the bottom to the top. So if you see any note written down here, it means that note is lower, and the note written at the top here is higher in pitch. So take note that it's being read from the bottom to the top and not from the top to the bottom. So let's look at the spaces. The spaces will do the same thing. We have to read from the bottom to the top. So let's number that same way. So this is number 1, space 1, and this is going to be space 2. This is going to be space 3, and this is going to be space 4. So these are all the 4 spaces. So the 4 spaces. Once we have that, so take note that notes are going to be written on either the lines or in the spaces. So before we move further, let's take note that sounds are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So which are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So take note. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So once you get to G, we have to come back to A. So you have that repeatedly, because sound goes ascending and also descending. So if you start from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Go back to A again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it goes in that sequence. So take note that you also need to learn to memorize these alphabets backwards. I know back in the day in school, we were not taught how to read the alphabet backwards. But in this case, we're not going to learn how to read 26 letters of the alphabet, because that's definitely going to be hard. If I tell you to read that and say, let's start reading from your Z backwards to A, you're going to be thinking Z, Y, X, W, you understand? So, but that's not the case. In this case, we are just learning to read 7 letters backwards. So the best way I teach my students to do that is this. Take the last 4 letters. So you learn that. So if you look at it coming backwards, we have G, F, E, D, which if you look at it, we can say G fed. Okay, that's a short way. So G Fed. Then to look at the remaining one, which is CBA. So take note, you have to learn to always sing that like a music in your head. So G Fed CBA, G Fed CBA. That's when descending, when coming back down. Trust me, this is important because we're going to be using this as we move on. And going upward is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Descending in G Fed CBA, G Fed CBA, G Fed CBA. So take note. So in order for us to give names to these lines and spaces, because I told you that the notes are going to be placed either on the lines or in the spaces. So in order for these lines to have names, and we're going to name them using this alphabet, we're going to introduce what is called a clef. So in this case, a clef is the symbol that will unlock the musical meaning of a written music. So let's look at this. So we're going to introduce the treble clef, which is also called the G clef. So let me show you how to draw that. So the first thing you want to do is place a dot on the second line, then you come back and make sure the circle is more like half in the first space. So half of the first space, it should not touch the first line. Then you go up and touch the third line and circle down as well. You see, we get to the second line. Then from that second line, circle down again and go up, you see. So then we'll go up now and turn backwards. Isn't that beautiful? All right, so this is called the treble clef or the G clef. Once we place the treble clef on the stave, so take note, the 5 lines and the 4 spaces is the stave or staff, and why this is the clef. So once we place the clef on the staff, we can call that by the name of the clef. So in this case, we're going to call both of them treble staff. Okay, so once a treble clef is placed on the stave, the first line is going to be E. So now let's go back to this alphabet that we listed here. So the reason why I left them is so that you have something to look out for when you're trying to give names to the other lines and spaces. So in order for us to do that, we have to follow, we're going this direction. We're going like this. We're going from the bottom to the top. So it means from the line, we're going to move to this space. And from this space, we're going to move to the next line, to the space, line, space, and line. So all we need to do is look at E. This is E. So we ask ourselves, what is the next alphabet that comes after E, which is going to be F. So we write that in the first space. So take note. Then the next we have to look at is the alphabet that comes after F, which is going to be G in this case. So in this case, we're going to write it on the second line. So G. So take note, space to line, then line to space. Then let's look at G. You see? So after G, take note, I told you it does not exceed G. So there's no such thing as H or I or J. So it does not exceed G. So after G, we're going to go back to A again. So after G, we have A. So A is going to be this second space. Then after that, so look at A, we're going to come back to this A because there's nothing in front for us to follow the sequence here. So let's come back to A. It's the same A. So after A, the next thing we have is B. So B is going to be on the third line. Okay, so as you can see, the A is in the second space. Then after B, we have to look at the next we'll have after B. So which we see that's C. So C is going to be the next thing we have. So which is going to be in the third space. So we have C. So after C, let's see what alphabet comes after C, which is D. So D is going to be on the fourth line. So take note, we are going line, space, line, space. So after D, the next thing we have is E. So we're going to place E in the fourth space. Okay. So after E, the next thing we have is F. So we're going to place that F on the fifth line. So as you can see, that's exactly it. So that's how you go up. So that simply means that anytime you see a note written on any of these lines or any of this space, for example, let's say we see a note here on this line. So what do you need to do? You can read your alphabet upwards. So you can say from here, first line is E, then you go F on the space, then G on the line, A space, B on the line, C space, then D line, then E space, then F. So that tells you that that note is F. But take note that it might make your reading slow. So what was done was we would have to separate the lines from the space. So I'll teach you a trick in order to help you learn to read faster or identify the notes faster. So what we'll do is we'll separate the lines from the spaces. So the first line, the alphabet on the first line is E. The alphabet on the second line, if you look at that, that's G. The alphabet on the third line, that's B. The alphabet on the fourth line, you see, that's D. Then the alphabet on the fifth line, that's F. Okay? So now what we're going to do right now is also do the same thing. Let's take the letters of the spaces now. So the first space we have F. The second space we have A. The third space we have C. And the fourth space we have E. So now what we need to do right now is use every letter here to form a word, that when we put all those words together, it forms a sentence, because we need that to help us quickly read the lines. So in this case, this is what almost everybody uses. So if you want to create yours, feel free to do that. So for E, we have every. Then for G, we have good. Then for B, we have boy. Then for D, we have deserves. Then for F, we have Fanta, or some people say food. So whichever one. So we have every good boy deserves Fanta. So if you look at this now, you might be wondering, what's the essence of all this? Let me show you the essence of this. So if you're trying to locate this note on the fifth line, since we know it's on the line, so we're going to make use of that sentence, which is every good boy deserves Fanta. So if you look at it from here, you have to go every good boy deserves Fanta. Then you know that F, Fanta, which is F. So you quickly know that fifth line is an F. So that helps you to quickly read the lines and spaces without wasting so much time. So if we look at the space, for instance, and let's say the space, the note is written in the third space. So in this case, now we have F-A-C-E. So the first space is going to be F, this is going to be A, and this is going to be C. You see? So that way we know this note is a C. It's that simple. So that's the reason why we have this sentence. So if you forget anything, make sure you try to memorize this, because it will always come in handy if you want to learn to read music. So that's it. So I'm going to leave an exercise down in the description that you're going to learn with. So you can also download that to do some exercises so that you perfect that. If you like videos like this and you would like to see more, type in the comment, I want to see more, and also click the like button. That way I will know that you like videos like this, and I'll be able to create more videos like this for you. And make sure you share with others, or share with somebody that you know is going to benefit from this video. If you want to know anytime I upload a new video, click on the follow button or click on the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell icon and select all so that you know when I upload a new video. If you would like to contact me for a private lesson, check the description below and you'll find my contact details on how to contact me. Take note that this is Pentatonic KC Music Lessons. Thank you so much, and I will see you again.